What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the CSL Esports Collegiate Valorant 2020-2021 season playoffs, brought to you by HyperX, Twitch Student, and Zaxby's. No need to hit pause. Order Zaxby's famous chicken sandwiches and salads for pickup and delivery on the Zaxby's app or at Zaxby's.com. And we're here not on Friday Night Valorant, but for your Saturday pre-main event matchup here. We have an open division winners finals matchup between Point Park University and the University of Houston. And tonight, I'm joined not by Squid, but by Vincent, who filled in for me a couple weeks ago. Now he's filling in for Squid. We've completed the circle. Vincent, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm enjoying myself, and I think we're gonna enjoy some pretty awesome Valorant action. Like you said, winners finals for Open, absolutely brilliant. It should be fun. I think that honestly, anything can happen, and that's what I'm excited for. I want the craziest of series to come to fruition for us. And listen, when I came and subbed in for you a couple weeks ago, we had a real banger of a series. I'm just gonna call that I'm bringing the good luck to the broadcast. That's what I'm rolling with it. You can't convince me otherwise.
I'm with it, man. You're bringing it over from CS:GO, right? And I'm totally with it. And yeah, we got a great matchup between two teams. Obviously, have proven themselves making it this far into winners bracket. They were both 7-2 in the regular season, and they haven't lost a set in many months, right? I believe it January, if not earlier. So both of these teams, they got to be firing on all cylinders. We're certainly going to be getting a good look at both of them coming up soon, and hopefully what maps that they're most comfortable on in the coming moments.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you talked about haven't lost in many months. It was all the way back in November, actually, the last time that there was a loss for Point Park. That was to Boston University, and then earlier on to Binghamton University. For the UH side of things, though, it was only in January, late January, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, January 29th. So a little bit. A little bit closer in the memory there, that loss to TAM USA Esports and then UTD Green earlier. Those are the two losses for University of Houston. So, it should be a big question mark. That loss probably going to be in the head of those Houston players. They don't want to go back to feeling that way. And the worst part about it is now it's playoffs, and now things matter all that much more, don't they?
No, absolutely. Of course, they're in winners brackets, so even if they do, either team takes a loss here, they're still alive. But you want to make it to grands on the winner side, right? Like you're this close, you've made it this far. Why not just get that one more set victory? And both of these teams have to be feeling pretty confident coming into this one. As you said, they haven't taken losses in January or farther. Um, Looking into this, we had a couple recent patch changes that shouldn't change up, I would say, the meta too much coming into these games. We had like a Viper buff, Bucky nerfs, but for the most part, a lot of these teams have been playing their comfort picks the same, mostly the same compositions that they've been running throughout the season, and as well as their rifle compositions too. So I'm not expecting really too much in the way of really outlandish compositions here. Mostly looking for textbook players are going to be sticking to what they know and what they're most comfortable on to get that win.
Yeah, and I have heard rumblings that that Viper buff has changed things, at least at the highest level.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not what this is, and to me, I think if you were playing Viper before, you're going to be playing Viper now. The
Hmm.
I watched a map a week ago maybe where it was absolutely outrageous, like the amount of damage that you could do with those vipers pits, or rather the snake bites, the mollies, were kind of ridiculous. You could line those up from basically anywhere on bind in particular. I was seeing lineups from A all the way on to B site with the spike being planted. It was kind of nutty. So that could be cool to see. But like you said, I think anybody who's been working on those lineups, they have them in the back pocket. They've been ready for them. They've been playing that Viper for a while and not necessarily going to be swapping onto that now just because of these small buffs. So it really does come down to who's better prepared. As
Hmm.
let's get introduced to our two teams here. As we do, let's get a look at who is going to be matching up on each of these rosters. Of course, Point Park University and University of Houston.
Yeah, I mean we got Animal Kingdom logos. I always love to look at the team logos, and I like both of them. Yeah, Point Park University coming out of Pittsburgh. I mean, looking at their team composition, at least on paper, it seems at least they should be covered utility wise. A lot of teams started to transition off of like very heavy duelist compositions earlier in the season. Going away from like the three, even four duelist compositions, and then heading over to a more spread out. Like, okay, we have a lot more open players, a lot more brimstone being used. It seems like Point Park University has at least two or three Omen players that they can pick from, which should be very helpful coming into this matchup. A bunch of Sova players, Cypher players as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, they should be good to go composition wise. Nothing really out of the. I mean, I don't see a Viper as you mentioned, and I definitely agree with you, by the way, that any player who's already playing Viper likely still is. No one's probably picking them up, to play Viper essentially, but that's not a character you can just freely disrespectfully push anymore. On the other side, it seems like I see some more Jets, some more Reynas, some more duelists, at least from what they put on the website, but we'll see if maybe University of Houston switches it up coming into the matchup, coming into the lobby.
Yeah, and we just took a look at the player lineup there for Point Park, and now we're taking a look at Houston. I mean, players that not necessarily that I recognize, but I think that we have a lot of opportunity to have some standouts to pick up huge frags, big outsized plays, all of that kind of stuff. That's what makes Valorant such a fun game to watch and to commentate. And I mean, we are just honestly looking forward to that. So I think that from here, my initial thoughts, right? Like whenever you say, okay, you have a bunch of potential controllers, like a couple players who play Omen, and the Brimstone. I do wonder, like, is that an issue for a team? What do you think?
I'm not sure. I think a lot of teams feel pretty confident running Omen and they want to have as much smoke utility as possible. Or I think
Mhm.
that's where the confidence comes. You have teams that are pretty confident just raw pushing, right, or ego peaking, and then other
Mhm.
teams who really need to rely on a lot of smoke utility to get sites and take them. So I'm not surprised seeing like both Omen and Brimstone a lot of the time, right? It's just kind of a lot of coverage. Especially you see a lot of situations where they lose like their Brim early, they lose their Omen early. All of a sudden they can't push onto a site anymore. It's nice to have a little bit of overlap and utility. But I'm interested to see how that works out. You make some good points there, and we're about to find out too the map picks from both of these teams. Over the past few weeks, we've seen obviously a ton of bind, a ton of ascent, and some split working its way in. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go.
Yeah, I think we have them ready, and yeah, we do. So first, there we do see the Haven band coming out of Point
Yeah.
Park. You were talking to me in the pregame. You were mentioning it to me that typically that you guys have been seeing a lot of Haven bands, which is unfortunate. It's a great map, but those three sites certainly can be difficult. And here's the big kicker:
Wow.
big, huge, unexpected ban in Ascent being taken out by Houston. Very odd, isn't it, Dak?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is that Haven is not that surprising of a ban, as you said, pretty volatile map, but Ascent is almost always a game one or a game two map. I honestly can't remember the last time we saw Ascent ban on the broadcast. I don't know if it happened for you when I was gone, but it certainly hasn't happened
Nope.
for me. So that's the first time I've seen it. Ascent is such a go-to map. It's like the battlefield or final destination of this game, right? Compared to Bind, which is the other kind of starter we see a lot of the time. A map that gives a lot of room for players to work with. Very surprised that it's getting banned here. Bind, no surprise, it's the first map we're going to. That is something that we see almost every single week.
Yeah, and key here, starting out on the attack as well. So this is going to be a question for me. How can Houston put together their attacking side? For me, the attacking side a lot of times kind of defines how your team is on Vine in particular, because honestly, I see it can go either way. Some people will call it a defensive sided map. I don't particularly agree with that. I think that it really is whether or not you can draw rotations and effectively do that. Then typically you have a better attack side. So on the lookout for what UH can put on display with that one. And here, big surprise, we're headed to an icebox for the second map. How many times have you guys seen icebox
I
this whole season?
I this might be the first time. I can't remember. I don't think we've actually covered Icebox yet. If I covered it with Squid, it has to be one time, if that. So, yeah, a very very uncommon pick. We've heard time and time again in the interviews post game that the players want to stick to what's comfortable, what they practice. And Icebox being a relatively new map still, it's not a map that's been most practiced by a lot of these teams. So to have it worked its way in, not even just for a tiebreaker match, but a guaranteed map is very surprising to me. Split, not so much, has been the tiebreaker commonly for these sets. But yeah, Icebox being a guaranteed map, that's not something you see every day.
I mean, you say relatively new map. I mean, it has been in the pool for what, over 7 months, 8 months now. I mean, it's not.
Is it? Damn.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's been at least that long. I mean, it's all this year, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
it
for
was.
sure.
So that's what, 4 months off the rip. So yeah, I mean, it's. You're right. It is the newest of the pool, but it's by no means new anymore. And I
Yeah.
think that it's cool to see some teams finally getting to the point where they're picking that map up. No pun intended, of course. But yeah, final map. We've a little bit glossed over it here. And that is going to be Split. I'm excited potentially to see a Split. Man, I don't get to cast Split ever. Nobody ever wants to play Split when I'm on the commentary booth. It's very frustrating. I like some Split. I hope we get to see it, but it depends. We're going to need to see a 1-1 series in order to get to that final map, which means that, I mean, honestly, both of these teams, they're looking to shut things down before we even get that far, aren't they?
No, absolutely. They don't want to make it go to a third map for sure. Yes, Split, I love seeing it as well, and that might even be a map where we see Viper worked in. Icebox is another map where Viper's been picked pretty commonly too, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe someone works Viper in there. Bind, I think you're going back to that point. You made a great point there. Bind really shows where teams, can show off their offensive identity, right, as a team. So, and not only baiting rotation, but baiting utility out and be like, okay, we can set the tone, set the pace, not only this map, but the rest of the series. So, looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Icebox, I have no idea. I have really no idea how to set my expectations for that one. Like you said, yeah, it's not a super new map, so maybe this is just we passed the threshold where teams are finally comfortable with it. That's great to hear. They should be comfortable with it. They should have been months ago, but better late than never. Yeah, I really don't know what to expect out of Icebox, but Bind I think is really going to set the pace and tone for the rest of the series. Then again, for previous open division matchups, we've seen matchups go one swing hard one way and then swing hard the other way and send us to a map three. It could go in any direction. It's always crazy out here at CSL.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of that, right? Like, you were saying not sure what to expect out of Icebox. I've seen actually quite a bit of Icebox at like the tier 2 level in North America. And obviously that's not what this is, in all fairness. It's not the same. But to be completely fair, there probably is some things carried over. So once we get in there, maybe once we see some compositions, we can have some better ideas of what the real look will be. But I do have to ask you a question. On Bind in particular, compositionally, you always, not always, you do tend to see a bit of the raise. You expecting to see that again here today?
Definitely. I mean, I saw the Rays mentioned a bunch of times on these player rosters on the site, but yeah, that I would say that's like Rays' home map, right? It's a
Hmm.
ton of tight corridors where she can use her utility, not to just get information and scout, but to literally deal damage and get kills. Her utility, or sorry, her ultimate, extremely good on those sites where there are a lot of cramped corners. She can get a lot of good kills off that too. Yeah, I mean, and then of course she can blast pack her way in through a short, immediately take control of that site. Raises so much good utility on this. But
No.
speaking of which, Point Park University is actually locked in without a raise, so I've just spent all that time talking, and at least according to them, it doesn't really matter.
Mate, oh no. Point Park have committed a grave evil sin, I must share. My good friend Ravishing Ravish has told me that the gravest sin is to pull out a Killjoy on this map, and I have to agree with him. Killjoy on this map is a bit of a yikes. Not as good or even close to as good as a Cypher, but hey, who am I? maybe Phil will definitely blow our mind, but I do think that that is a little bit more questionable because the camera can be so very good in this map in particular. As we are waiting on the final selections there for the Houston side of things. They're just getting locked in, maybe just slightly slower. There we go. As
Yeah.
the time ticks down. But what do you think of the Killjoy here on this map? You a fan of this deck?
You make some good points there, and yeah, usually you see the cipher almost every time. Also, no raise. I mentioned all of that, and no raise picked whatsoever.
Sure.
So obviously, I'm wrong. Yeah. So the Killjoy, I think, just really comes down to a comfort pick. A lot of teams just try to pick this Killjoy for the lockdown. I think that's really where it comes down to the preference. Otherwise, Cypher is probably the better pick overall as an agent. Um, yeah, I mean, it's definitely really works for a team that feels confident in being able to move around the map and wants to be able to throw that lockdown down freely and take even more control. So maybe that's a sign of a more confident team. Maybe they don't need the camera; they want to have more of that lockdown available. That's generally where I see the pick, cause coming from in terms of over Cypher.
Well, we'll see. I mean, the key part of that is the lockdown. Typically not very effective on this map because of just the size of the sites. It's a lot more
Yep.
difficult to really get value out of it comparatively to the likes of a more closed-in map like Split or even Haven. So, we'll see how it goes. I don't think it's horrible, but I do think that it is definitely not as ideal as we get right into this pistol round.
Oh, already got saw by the recon dart. So now Cadre in a bit of a bad position here. Getting some shots off, and it's gonna be Ansix who gets on the board first. And they're gonna back up and take this a little freely here, as now the offense is slowed down after losing that first player.
Yeah, Sarge falling early on that Reyna is not ideal. A nice little curveball coming out from Cadre, but the swing ready to go. I say double swing, actually a little bit delayed, and allows for Cadre to get straight out of there with their life. Well done. Is now a one-for-one trade ultimately to open things up here with about a minute left on the clock.
Can't really blame University of Houston for slowing things down, considering they lost that Sova as their one agent death. So now their ability to gain information drastically went down. You can see that paranoia threat sent through U-Haul, trying to thread the needle there as they try to get that. N6 picked up a kill. Noah as well gets two headshots, 2 kills, and moves up for another as Cadre steals it away from them. Now a 3-on-1 situation. Tan Bands will go down. Destu by themselves picks up the kill on Cadre, but Phil returns the favor, and the first round will be going towards Point Park.
Yeah, well done, and honestly a great job there by Cadre getting the re-aggression with the curveball. That's a dangerous play. You could just be giving away an extra frag, and then what's a devastating start in a 4v5 is now a 3v5. But fortunately, able to get that frag and get out alive, so huge for Cadre to be able to do that. And I love that decision making process coming through. Absolutely brilliant.
And now off that round win, of course, that means that Point Park are going to buy out a little bit. Sarge has the Marshall. Meanwhile, all SMGs across the board. And they're going to peek out a little bit here. Torch Towers again, looking for that Sova. They see the Owl drone, and they will be able to get the kill on Ansix. Oh, Sarge almost gets the double, but Cadre helps him out, picks up the slack, and they'll get that ultimate orb as well.
Yeah, great find. Again, I like the aggression. It's a situation, right, where aggression on the defensive side kind of, for me, defines your play on this map in particular. Cadre is now in maybe a tough spot. Okay, Sully gets found out, and Sarge takes that frag easily. Just 2 players left alive for the attackers. About a minute left on the clock. 10 Benz looking maybe to pick something up, but that spike has been dropped outside of bathrooms, and well, it's going to be a pretty long journey to try and get back there.
Yeah, Desu might be able to pick up a kill here if one wants to peek, but no one is. Tan Band's also searching here outside market. And this would be a great round or an opportunity for Point Park to get this done flawlessly too. So Tan Band's looking to try to deal some additional damage.
30
Obviously,
seconds left.
the Omen telegraphing themselves through the wall, so Tan Band knows exactly what to expect. And now the Jet's going to join them as well as we hit just above that 20-second mark here. And now they're going to go in Desu with a pick on Sarge. And now they go in for the fray. Noah with one, gets the second. They won't do it flawlessly, but they'll only lose one player, Sarge, who picked up the Marshall. Otherwise, they'd keep everyone alive.
Yeah, and honestly, a nice little cyberpunk theme there with the skins. Everybody matching. I say everybody. Sarge and Noah matching. Whatever. I appreciated it. That's all I can say. But we do see the weaponry coming out here for the attackers. First time that Houston's going to have any real opportunity to fight back without those pistols. So we're definitely should be on the lookout for that, especially considering it is a bonus round. Just those SMGs being pulled up here for the defense, and they aren't buying in. That's pretty standard, exactly what you would expect.
Tanman just putting out some warning shots with the Vandal here, gonna back up. Most likely trying to create some noise here, but not much of a fake, as the Owl Drone's not gonna find Sarge sitting just outside box on Tetris and A site there. And now everyone's coalescing towards that A site. Another smoke, dark cover coming out from the Omen. Sarge continues to hold down A short. Noah helping him out as well. Puts some shots down, and now they're running back and a push up onto the site.
Yeah, and that running back, and six does get sent right back where they came from. Panzer, one frag, but Sarge comes back for more. Now gets the overheal, but not quite enough. Sully out the back of that information from the overheal, gets the frag, and that spike gets planted down. 2 players left alive, up close and personal in U-Haul is Sully. That first frag is there, but Panzer lines him up easily, a triple kill.
Well executed, and of course that running back very, very effective to get them some leverage onto the site. And we go back to that Killjoy versus Cypher discussion. You know, all the Killjoy utilities on the other part of the map pretty much has no way to really be useful on that defense, right?
Well, yeah, on the retake, it's certainly very difficult to have any value out of it. Sure, you could maybe grab your alarm bot, and the cooldown comes up. Like, yeah, maybe. Also, same thing for the other bot. I'm forgetting what the name is. But it's just not ideal. Put it that way.
Right. Yeah, definitely would want to have that nano swarm over on the other side as well. And looks like now the offense going to be shuffling a little bit towards B long with that running back from Cadre, which gets found out and gives them a little bit of information, but not much they can really play off of. Only one agent was seen. And now that spike's going to go back towards A short. It worked last round, but it's the only round they found success, and it was done mostly off that right back.
Oh, look at the rotations though. All 3 players over at B. Only 2 committed here towards A. Cadre is going to be the first to take a stab at things. Gets tagged by the Owl Drone and An6. Great shot. Headshot in, and that is the way to open up the site. Noah looking for more. Paranoia goes out and does a great job of blinding An6. As is going to get the spike planted here for the offense, but is it going to last? A matter of time now as the retake comes through 4-on-4.
Oh, and Shuya finds Sully is now a 4-on-3 situation. Tanbans evens it up, but the judge from Sarge laying down the line. Tanbans goes down. Sarge finds another one as they pick up that rifle on the other side. Yeah, that was huge. And now Panzer in between a rock and a hard place here. Gonna be able to use the Hunter's Fury, and we'll be able to stop the plant for now, but they get the half plant. There's more than enough time to react to this. Right click from the classic gets it done for Sarge with a 3K, and they'll have enough time to get the defuse.
Yeah, Sarge unfortunately needed to be a little bit more aware, pull out the weapon a little bit faster, but a good idea, using that Hunter's Fury in order to defend the spike. A classic one, but a long-lived tradition for a reason, because it works out so well so much of the time. That being said, we are going to be seeing a sort of not half investment, a full investment, but not full weaponry available here for the defense. It's unfortunate, but they're not going to be able to afford absolutely everything. Gonna have to pull out a Spectre and a Bulldog on 2 players. But on the other side of things, I don't know what just happened here, but why have they not bought? What?
Yeah, I guess they're. It's a weird buy. Somewhat full armor. Not sure why they're not going for the full buy. You got a Bulldog in there. Yeah, pretty odd buy here. But we do have Desu with the Blade Storm. Obviously, on this Eco run, it makes more sense to be going for that. Trying to make the most of that jet just on the pistol, and the Owl Drone's gonna try to open up the site a little bit here. Still the Omen and the Phoenix coming over from A. So be able to have a 5-on-3 situation and get this push going, but a lot of utility walling them out just now. Tan Band still trying to get not caught for that recon. Bolt fails there. Sarge looking for another. Codray steals the kill, and Six returns the favor. And now it's a 4-on-4 situation with 50 seconds left on the clock. You heard that teleporter go off. That's the Phoenix, I believe, and Six going through that to try and look through A as they're going for the rotation.
Oh, and look at that dark cover coming down from Noah at the perfect timing, making sure nobody can get a forward position. As I say, forward position. Desu with the Blade Storm is in U-Haul and might get blinded by that. But Ansix, the second frag, that Sheriff is certainly doing wonders as the spike plant goes down. But nonetheless, 3-on-3, and what was just a low investment is starting to look a little bit dicey here for the defense. Nice little hot hands. Oh, it doesn't quite find enough. There we go. Cadre on the reaggression takes Ansix down, but up close and personal with the Blade Storm, and then Sully with the follow-up on the Sheriff. Now left on to Cadre, who has to find it all. Throwing it out, the flash, it's not going to meet anything, but Cadre still gets the frag. That's huge. But the spike, it's been ticking away so long. And Sully, he hits the shot before Cadre even has an opportunity.
Nice try there. Definitely making the most of that, and off of a really solid position coming out of showers. I mean, that was, I honestly didn't think that it was going to be doable, and of course, playing that 1-on-2 situation, it's hard with such little time. It's really a 1-on-3 with time against you as well. But I mean, doing a lot of economic damage, which was really solid, right? Not only getting the round win for University of Houston, but now Point Park forced the save. They have no money to work with. Got to get those creds back. So ample opportunity here to tie things up.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Those eco wins are so brutal. And, well, Desu is kind of putting a pin in this one. Sully gets in on the action just for show. But it's a 2 versus 5, and you blink and you miss it.
Yeah, and this is something we see time and time again, regardless of what level of play you're at, is players just ego peeking of short A and getting punished for it, and also having the Jet able to just dash right up and immediately take control of the site. And you love to see it, but you see it so often on Bind. Tan Band's right in the position to clean up the flank from Shuya and Phil, making it look easily. Flawless round. Of course, that's off of a barely a bye from Point Park University, so certainly an expected round win for University of Houston, but to get it done flawlessly, I mean, that's icing on the cake right there.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And in fairness, I don't think I would call what we were seeing there from the defense ego peaks or challenges at the minute. I mean, it was an intelligent play. They were looking to just push together and try and make something work. But Desu, I mean, hitting the shots, man, absolutely brilliant. And Sully following up as well makes their life absolutely miserable. Speaking of ego peaks, there's one of them that you were talking about. Doesn't net much of anything off the back of that one-way smoke, but either way, does get some information, does Noah.
Cotter right now, we've seen him in this position before. Knows that the Soba's playing this very often and goes out and knows that the Soba's there and sees the Phoenix as well. So a solid amount of information, despite not getting a kill from that run it back. Though they will get clicked, almost put down for the count by that shock dart. Cotter barely stays alive, going to be throwing out that fireball potentially to ward off this push, but still keeping it available as the Omen's going to smoke them out with the dark cover on the other side. Noah, away from that Tetris position they've been playing, now over here towards U-Haul, looking for this push up A short.
I mean, but look at this. I mean, they kind of know what's going on here, the defense. They've got 3 players committed. Now, granted, the Sova has just rotated back. A little bit of a mistake. That timing might be a problem. Cadre, the first to fall, and 6 with the frag. And Sarge, though, comes in return. But the follow-up from Panzer is good. Ultimately, though, Trade's looking fairly solid, particularly with that frag from Noah. And then the follow-up as well. Super strong out of this U-Haul position. Shuya, do you expect the player up close and personal in Ansix? No, you don't. Can you get the follow-up? That is a negative. But Panzer gets a double kill. Noah and Phil fall in U-Haul and through CT.
Panzer with a really solid cleanup. All headshots right there, just picking them up one by one as players were otherwise really distracted or using utility or holding other angles. A really solid cleanup there by Panzer, picks up a bunch of kills and able to hold on to their armor as well. So a solid look there for University of Houston. 3 unanswered rounds in a row. They're fully kitted out, full armor. They got a bunch of creds to spend if they lose this next round. And now they have an opportunity to extend this lead here as Point Park. They're barely going to be able to buy armor. They have only one SMG, I believe, just a Spectre there to work with. I mean, it's going to be dire straits, and it looks like they're going to try to just do as much economic damage as they can to Houston.
Well, the attempt is certainly there. Sarge, couple of pop shots through that dark cover. Doesn't really net much of anything. No real damage to speak of. And it looks as if this push might be an A push once again. But this time, there's 4 players here. Though, again, like you were talking about, the Sheriffs, they're not necessarily the ideal weaponry to defend against these rifles.
No, no, they're definitely not. And but that said, we've seen a lot of these players be pretty successful with the Sheriff pushing these sites, so I wouldn't count them out entirely. But yeah, that's already one player going down, another agent falling. That was actually from a Sheriff kill. Then Sarge gets a pick on Sully with a Sheriff of their own. Desu, though, will get them back, gets a 2K there, finishing up Sarge for the second half of it. Now Shuya trying to scan things out, but in doing so, they lost their last teammate, Phil, in a 1-on-4 situation. Too many angles to handle. Too cold to hold, and now with a few seconds left, that round will count out for Houston. An expected round win, and they do it without dropping too many bodies there. They will be able to rebuy them, and look how much credits that Houston has to work with. They are full, I mean, Panzer's almost fully maxed out on creds. They're really in a solid spot, and Sarge, almost maybe not a desperation pick, but looking for a way back in on this with the op, half armor buy here.
Yeah, I mean, not desperation, certainly, and the lack of a jet, it makes sense that the Rain are going to pick this up. What I will say is that I'm not loving the lack of investment of the ultimates here. Like, where is this lockdown play? We need to
Right.
see something being utilized off the back of it at some point. The teleport, that's a little bit more difficult to contend with. But even the Empress, they've been sitting on it for a little bit of time here, a little bit more than I would have liked at the very least.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you got to be using your ults at least, twice per half, I would say, and then we haven't even seen these ults really be cycled at all, especially from the Killjoy. So now Cadre, who is pretty far away from their running back, but certainly looking for a way to build that meter up a bit, putting some shots in through A short. There's no one there. Meanwhile, Panzer, all the way up here with Ansix, not finding Cadre in their usual position in showers. So they're going to be able to get a little more territory as they push up towards this door area, which is being held somewhat by Noah, who's in this kind of quarterback position, trying to hold both of these angles, but mostly looking towards A short. Showers actually isn't too far covered. Really, only Sarge is holding it with the op. But if they can get some, smokes down, some kind of flash out, they can push out, and there comes the push.
Yeah, this operator going to be key. Can it connect any shots? Panzer with the opening frag, and Ansix shuts the operator down. And that is a great pickup as well. Cadre was trying to be cheeky, trying to find something in the corner, but it was just not enough. And it's a shooting gallery, simply one after another. Flawless victory there coming through from the UH side of things. And honestly, that's the kind of round that you just put in the bank and you're like, listen, we're fragging.
That's a round you put on the fridge, man. You showed it to mom and dad. I mean, that's a great round. It's exactly what you want to do. You figure out where the op is, you figure out the angle they're holding, and then you push accordingly. They did exactly that. They took out the op. They didn't drop a body to the op, and now they're up 3 rounds, looking very good. University of Houston only has 3 more rounds in this half to establish dominance, but they've already done that so far with 5 unanswered rounds. Still a ton of money to work with, and they've kept Point Park on their back foot for the last few rounds here. And Ansix and Desu again. I mean, the defense, those are peaks you can't be affording to take there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was double, triple peak. So like, if you're gonna take that peak, that's how you do it. But still, a tough position to be in. And Panzer just finds the timing onto Noah as Noah tries to find something cheeky through the dark cover. But another flawless victory. That's 2 in a row flawless rounds at this point. And I mean, listen, I talked about how, the attacking side of this map, for me, typically sets the tone for a series because it tells me how you are looking to play on your attacking side. And thus far, it's been honestly really one-dimensional from Houston, but it doesn't matter because Point Park haven't been able to shut it down.
Exactly. If it works, it works, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And
Exactly.
now this is a push all the way up long. There's no peek from the defense this time. No triple peek, no nothing. So they can walk all the way right up. There's the dark cover with the run it back combos that go in and immediately set up that alarm bot. But the Phoenix already makes their way into the back corner of the site. I mean, they've completely taken control, and Ansix finds Shuya and Cubby. So they're good to go to hold this site and to look for any flanks to rotations.
What a great opener with that. And there comes this lockdown potentially. Phil looking to maybe utilize it. This is the right decision. This is a good spot to use it in. And now it's just a matter of time. I love this Hunter's Fury. Just pulling it out in order to deny that lockdown any sort of value. And it's still 2 players alive for the defense and make it just 1. Sarge left alone 1v4. They know where they're at and they've shut it down. Desu coming along and picking up the kill with the headshot. And that is, once again, another round that simply looked impeccable from University of Houston.
Absolutely. And you pointed out that Hunter's Fury used to take out the lockdown. That's another problem with holding your ultimate too long is your opponent can have the counter ready to go more often than not, right? Had that lockdown waiting for so long, of course they're going to have the Hunter's Fury ready to go to counter. Perfectly well executed. The one time the lockdown's used on that half, the Silver's ready to go. And even Sarge is still holding on to the Empress coming into this last round. They got to use it, at least for something, coming into this one, especially because Sarge has no armor.
In fairness, Sarge actually has used the Empress at least one time
At least one.
prior. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there goes the second. So that a little bit more reasonable, but yeah, it's just overall been not ideal for a couple of the other players here for the defense of Point Park. But Panzer looks to get a forward position, just kind of is investigating that and decides, yeah, no, that's not for me. We're going to move away and head over towards short, whilst the rest of the team aggregates over towards B. In fact, there goes Panzer as well. So this looks to be a B hit. And if we look, the rotations, they're coming in. So I don't really think that you know, it's kind of unfair to call it an A fake because it was just kind of an A presence. It didn't work out all that well.
No, it was. I would say it's more like conditioning, right? Like Houston's conditioned Point Park to send a lot of players towards A just because they've been hitting it so often.
30
And now
seconds
the
left.
defense is rotated accordingly as the offense has taken the spike over towards Hookah. They could have gone. I think they could have gone for another rotation, but I think they're confident enough to go in towards A. But they've already lost Ansix and Tanman's the Cadre. But Panzer with such a well-placed shock dart evens the odds long. So when Sully and then gets the 2K, it's 2-2 on the site. But the spike's still not down yet, and Panzer at 30 HP. Guess who has to get that spike down? 6 seconds left. Gonna put it down in the tin can. But that's going to be allowing Shu to swing against Panzer through the wall and then picks up the kill for the 2K against Desu's Blade Storm outside that spike. They will get the defuse. They will make it 4-8 at the end of this half. Better than 3-9 for sure. And that's a spike. I mean, that's certainly a defuse that they love to have there. They stop a little bit of that momentum. I mean, that was 7 unanswered rounds from University of Houston. So Point Park University trying to end it on a high note.
I mean, yeah, they certainly do end it on a high note, but not many of those high notes here. That being said, this is a fantastic couple of frags from Shuya to close out the half. Nonetheless, a difficult position to be in now, 4-8. I don't want to like talk too badly about Point Park because I actually think their tactical attempts on the defense were very strong. They were very intelligent. It wasn't as if they made huge tactical errors. It was simply that honestly, we saw Houston outplaying them in a couple of scenarios, and hey, nothing wrong with that. It happens to the best of teams. That being said, we are going to have to see some adjustments here from Point Park if they want to come out victorious in this map.
That was a very bold and risky alt orb tap there, but it looks like Ansic's able to get out of there with their life intact. Spike is still outside showers here as they might try to take some more peeks in, and Desu gets the better of Sarge there on that exchange. They make it a 5-on-4 scenario. The Spike is still not even moved at all. The offense is still, really on the half line here, trying to get some kind of leverage and really just looking for a pick, another kind of pick, another pick opportunity to even the odds. No one's really moving. No one's using the utility. If they have it, just waiting to see if they can get something. It's Sully who brings the frenzy back in action, making it another one on Shuya for the second, and now it's a 5-on-2.
Yeah, and now 1v5. Noah, the sole player left for BBU, and now gets spotted out. Could find this frag. Only one shot to the head would get rid of Desu, but elects to get the spike planted instead. A little bit extra cash, sure, but now everybody's coming in. A nice shot onto Antics, but, well, let's just say that's short-lived. Sully, a triple kill in the pistol, coming through from the back, and honestly, once again, that's just a situation where kind of everybody took some individual fights and everybody lost them.
Yeah, and it's certainly not a fun scenario to be in a one-on-one against a frenzy, trying to hold these corners against someone who's running and gunning and just spraying and praying. It's nice to have a buddy, and if you don't, you end up on the losing end of that exchange a lot of the time. And we all know the frenzy got increased in terms of being able to buy in the shop, and we've had changes to moving while shooting in the game, but the frenzy is still a really valid option in these early rounds. And obviously, you can see how much of a play, how much of a difference maker it was for Sully as they got that 3K.
Yeah, I mean, just because it's no longer the only pistol doesn't mean it isn't there. And
Exactly.
Desu has done a great job of opening this round up. 2 kills immediately. Granted, this is against pistols, but it doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
Sully lines him up and knocks him down, just making him look like bowling pins right there.
Yeah, we got to get the replay. And that's Sully gets a 3K with the Frenzy and then does it again with the Spectre. I mean, the spray transfer right there to be able to get all three of them. You rarely see that in Valorant. And catches one look in there. Shuya didn't even see it coming and turned that monster and made it incorporated. Very good job there by Sully to get that 3K 2 rounds in a row.
I appreciate that. It was well done. But we are looking at 4-10, a scoreline. It is not so ideal. Aggression, looking for more. Cadre and
Oh.
Shuya, though, they both win that out. Huge victories as Panzer, now the sole survivor of this site, throws out something to get some information, does a little bit of damage with that shock dart, but Sarge, once again, getting the kill onto Sully, and now it's all fallen apart. Those non-upgraded weapons into the first gun round, certainly not looking ideal there for Houston.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, they had a bonus round to work with, not a big deal, but now we're going to see both of these teams kind of at more of an even strength coming into this half. Yeah, Houston dropping around. I'm sure they're not too flummoxed about that. They're still only a few rounds away from taking this map. Before we go to our next one, which is Icebox, which I'm still very much anticipating, but
Oh, yeah.
still more rounds to go in this one. And Houston certainly setting the tone, only dropped 5 rounds. Now on defense, they've got a bunch of firepower to work with.
Well, the other thing is this is Point Park's pick.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest problem. They're down 5 rounds at the minute, and they're going to have to turn that around. The defense looking for more. There goes the flash, and it's so good! And 6 with a double kill. Cadre comes out big in the hookah position with a 1-for-1 trade, but it doesn't really necessarily matter, as it's still a player advantage for the defense. Tan Bands as well gets even more info, and now, I mean, it's just a matter of time for the players sitting in hookah. We don't see any rotations coming through or pushes in the back from A, which is a bit odd, but it's really now with this player advantage, I think Houston saying, listen, guys, y'all just make a mistake. We're just waiting.
Absolutely. And I'm surprised that Point Park's not, trying to cover the flank a bit more. I mean, Phil has utility to use, hasn't dropped it yet, but it looks like they are going to be at least rotating towards B long potentially, which still doesn't really get them out of this situation. I mean, I guess they are going to be committing to this, but they're going to be working against time as well. Of course, the Phoenix Ansix is still ready and waiting, and still has another curveball ready to go. Can wall up. I mean,
Oh.
Cadre just walking right in. I mean, almost with a chicken with their head cut off, not even anticipating the shot on their right corner. Ansix gets a 4th one. And now the Killjoy with the spike has not been able to get that down. They're just going to run away. Phil trying to just avoid dying and trying to hold on to their Vandal and full armor as much as they can. And we'll have about a few seconds left to do that unless Tan Bands goes in, decides not to. and now it's an 11-5 scoreline here for University of Houston.
Yeah, not looking great here for Point Park. They have been struggling a little bit in the last couple of rounds. And, well, in general on this map, it seems that Houston, they just might have the better of them on this map in particular. So 11-5, we do, if we take a look at the money, there is cash available here for Point Park. So they certainly have an opportunity to come up victorious in this round. And as I say that, interesting that Panzer doesn't have a gun. Not sure how that happened, but oh well.
Maybe just gonna pick one. Just gonna scavenge for a rifle potentially here. Wouldn't be surprised. Panzer's already done it before. Scavenged off, that Phantom from the Judge after a pretty stellar round earlier in the half, or earlier in the first half actually. And Six finds another. Again, that's Sova going down early. We've seen that a bunch of times these last few rounds. Not having that Shuya that pretty much eliminates a lot of their information gathering for Point Park. So losing that Sova again, not a good look. And now things have come to a complete halt as the offense is real no good way to get any information here. Though Sarge does get Desu as the peak comes out from the jet. They go down. Sarge will be able to heal themselves up a little bit, overheal, and now it's a 4-on-3 situation as we hit to that 45-second mark.
It's all into 10 bands. That Lear gonna go wide. Now needs to get this frag and does not pick it up. Panzer is in prime position, and so is Sully. Are they ready? Yes, they are. Noah, Sarge, both pick up big frags, and Sarge has a triple kill as well. That's absolutely humongous. As now it's one player left alive. They're on the flank, and well, now they've been found out, vulnerable off of that alarm bot, and the swing from Sarge is good for 4.
Sarge with a bunch of headshots that round, and really well done by both Sarge and Noah to take those corners, peek well, and get those kills on players on the defense that were ready and waiting for them. So, came down to and obviously, of course, 10 bans. Had they gotten that kill on Sarge, that round would have been completely different.
Whew.
But Sarge got that pick on that left quarter. So, came down to those individual gunfights. And Point Park University, I mean, if they're going to go down, they're not going to go down without a fight.
Well, and that's a great example of where how I said that a lot of those gunfights not going their way there in the first half. That's a great example of Point Park. They just win the gunfights and they did it themselves. So, you know, it can go both directions. That's kind of what I'm getting at. That said, we do see that Blade Storm popped immediately for the defense of Houston, looking to utilize that on, I believe, Desu, and well, a slow, methodical beginning
Oh.
here, as I say that. Cold Ray with 2, in fact. Again, the aggression just getting denied.
Yeah, that's a really solid wins there for the attack. And I was gonna say they have 4 ultimates to work with here, so they could force the issue, but now they don't even need to. And Six gets paranoid and goes down. Textbook execution as Sarge picks up the kill, another headshot, and now I mean this take should be all but done with. Might not even need to get the spike down. Noah finds Panzer. Tan bands by themselves will catch Sarge off guard, but now of course everyone knows where they are. They don't have any utility to work with, no camera in any position to try to get themselves some information. So Tan Band's just trying to do as much economic damage as they possibly can to these attackers who are looking, at least in the onset of a 7th round here.
Well, that bot has unfortunately given away the position. And, well, if it wasn't the bot, the drone certainly did. Cadre, closing down the triple kill, was the player to open this round and subsequently close it. Cadre with that 3K, and well, slowly but surely, this lead is evaporating. There's still 4 rounds left in it, though, and it's still going to have to be a big find, realistically. That being said, certainly going to be helpful that you don't have any weapons at all here for Houston's defense. They've going to have to go on to the save. A couple of shorties, and 3 sheriffs online. It's all that is available against all of these vandals.
Cage triggered.
Absolutely. Oh, Tan Band's going right into that cage. No Sarges there. And waiting, doesn't pick the right shots and misses. Sarge gets him back for it, makes it a 5-on-4 situation. And yeah, that's going to be 3 Deagles and a shorty, but Sully gets that 1 pick on Noah. That's enough to even the odds, but is it enough to get that snowball rolling? Sully still holding this angle, looking for another kill. There's the Reyna, but can't confirm. Both shots looks like they whiffed, and now they get some backup, but Cadre finds Ansix. 4-on-3 situation. Shock dart whiffs. And now it's Sarge who's gonna clean things up, wipes it up with a Swiffer. 2 headshots again. Sarge with another one for the 4K and a third headshot in a row. Sarge absolutely dominating now as they swing things back with a positive KD and a round victory. Only one player going down. It was Noah. And now they have closed the gap to just 3 rounds against University of Houston.
Yeah, man. I mean, Sarge, what a great play. Look at that. Those two shots, absolutely just so clean. The follow up as well, so solid. Quad kill in the round. And yeah, oh, man, tapping away. That's where the Vandal is so strong at those, those short bursts. And we see Sarge putting it on display for us in real time and in slow motion there as well. So, absolutely brilliant. That being said, we are going to see the repurchase here of weapons. 5 ultimates online for the attackers of Point Park. They've got pretty much all the tools at their disposal. What do they do with them?
Nowhere to
Oh,
run!
there's that Hunter's Fury already comes out and tags and kills Tanban's Shuya, pops it out, using it to just get leverage on the site. We've seen it used that way many times before, and it's certainly an effective way to get that Hunter's Fury out on the board. And then Panzer catches Shuya for the trade back 4-on-4 situation. As Panzer trying to pull them into this vacuum, and Ansix lets loose the trap to get Sarge. Now it's a 4-on-3, but that Silva's super low. There comes the run it back. Ansix only needed 1 kill going into this round to get it, and now has it to use. There's the killjoy that we've been waiting for, and finds that run it back. Cadre goes down. Noah and Ansix trading 3-on-2 situation. That spike continues to tick down. The lockdown goes away, and now Desu trying to throw some smokes down, but there's the nanoswarm denying that spike defuse yet again. Gonna be very little time to deal this, and I don't think there's enough time for this defuse.
One enemy remaining.
Yeah, I mean, it was over already, but yeah, not enough time. And on top of that, not enough space. Desu falls. And once again, round by round, this deficit disappears in 9-11. Now the scoreline, this is big. I mean, this is going to be back to the eco for Houston. And I mean, we saw what happened last time, right? They lost that eco. I mean, understandably, to be fair, lost the eco. And I mean, we're talking a huge investment. That being said, there was 3 ultimates invested: the lockdown, the Hunter's Fury, and the run it back that last round by Point Park. So I don't think that Houston can be all too angry about that. It's certainly not ideal though, and they're thinking about winning, not thinking about min maxing those ultimates.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, Ansix used that run it back and is at 4 points now already. So is almost gonna have another run it back ready to go in this next round or so, which is it's pretty crucial considering that's been a key to getting a lot of these sites. Sarge, meanwhile, finds Sully to make it a 5-on-3 scenario. They've lost their Jet, they've lost their Omen. No more dark covers of paranoias for them, but I don't even think that would make a difference as Tanbans and Ansix just get slaughtered outside that spike plant site. And now it's just the Sova by themselves, not going to be able to do too much. It's Panzer trying to hide up here in heaven and gets caught by the recon bolt. Might not even be able to stay alive with their pistol intact. Oh, Sarge goes down. That was a nice shot by Panzer and might at least been a little bit of damage economically against Houston, but a big round, I'm sorry, against Point Park, but a big round win there. And now it's 11-10. A huge comeback here. 5 rounds in a row here for Point Park, and now they're within 1 round. We might be going overtime potentially.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they keep winning here. They could win.
They could win it outright. Yeah.
I mean, there's no need for overtime necessarily, unless
Track them
just
down.
want to have extra innings for some reason. Nonetheless, I will say
Standing ahead.
this do or die moment. I think for Houston, they've had their troubles, they've had their struggles, but now they have the weapons and they also have an operator on to Desu. This isn't the first time we've seen this, but I think that now they've lost a bunch of rounds in a row. They've got to have been making some adjustments throughout. They surely would have been trying to figure out what the problems were, and now you can put those solutions that you found and put them to great usage on this round in particular.
And Destiny with an odd angle though at the stop, holding all the way in hookah with like such, I mean, a pixel length shot and gets it on
Spike
Phil.
down
The
B.
wall bang, but it's enough room, just enough, and gets the second one on Sarge. So Desu, perfect place, perfect time for both of those kills. A nice aggressive position works out well for the Jet player, and now a 5-on-2
Player
situation
standing.
afforded. With Sully gets another one with that Dandel, opening things up for a flawless victory. I mean, if you ever need a flawless victory or win on that round, I mean that has to be one of the perfect times.
Hate to say I called it there, but I did. And well, that is the round that they had, the round that they needed. Houston, they've returned, and now it will have to be overtime or bust for Point Peak if they want to come out victorious on their own map pick. Quite honestly, we've been having this discussion about can the comeback happen? Where are we at with it? Right now, it's looking difficult. These ultimates make it very difficult. And well, that's a little bit of a forward position to pull out the curveball. In fairness, 1-for-1 trade,
I
Tan
have the
Bands
spike.
and Shuya trade out, and well, now it's a 4v4 and simply a matter of time before somebody comes through that start cover and meets antics to say hello.
Absolutely, and if they don't go there, they're gonna find themselves now they're into the barrel of Desu, who's holding now that octagon area just outside B long. Meanwhile, Cadre gonna try and inch their way in back towards market from a short connector, and looks like they're gonna be walking right into the waiting arms of this op, and without, I mean, they're gonna have that, smoke, those smokes ready to go. I mean, they don't have any smokes ready to go. They'll have to have flashes ready to go, really. So no way to really cover themselves against this op. So this, oh, and now Sarge is also giving themselves away, and then baits Cadre, who dies first. Desu gets that one, and now is gonna be able to reposition themselves against Sarge, who's looking for a way to dislodge that op
30
from
seconds left.
from Jet's hands here. But it's gonna be a huge ask, and they could rotate back if need be. But it looks like they're going to try to push the issue on B site.
Yeah, I mean, this is not the issue you want to be pushing.
No, it's
Oh,
not.
he
Oh,
nearly picked up that frag, did Desu. Fortunately, Sarge and Shuya both
10
pick up
seconds
kills.
left.
This is 9 seconds left, and that is going to be a
Player
great attempt from Sarge, but Panzer comes up big, and Panzer, with a second frag, closes out this map. It was awful close in the end, 13-10, but realistically, this is a sided game.
Defenders
They
win.
got way closer than it had any business being, in my opinion.
oh, absolutely. I mean, shout out to the Point Park for bringing it all the way back. But as you said, that was Point Park's map pick, right? So going into Icebox, University of Houston has the advantage not only in the set but for the map itself. So I would expect Point Park to be able to, keep pace with them as they did on Bind. But when you saw University of Houston, they're firing all cylinders. When they have everything bought out and they have utility and their ultimates ready to go, they were executing extremely well. And of course, they were more consistent in those gunfights. So, really solid map win for them. Point Park kept it close, but going into this next map, University of Houston certainly has the advantage.
Yeah, they do. And you know what's a little bit worrying for me, and it should be worrying for all Point Park fans, is that Tan Bands had a horrible game. Was sitting 6-13 total at the end right there, and that is not going to be the norm. Not going to be something you see all the time. And Houston still looked very dominant for the majority of that game. They did start to give things away there at the end, but ultimately they closed it out. So I think that if I'm thinking in chat, I'm like, okay, I want Point Park to win this one, and I'm moving into my opponent's map pick on Icebox. I gotta hope and pray that maybe Tan Bands continues to have a bad day, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
Well, for Point Park, hopefully someone's hearing those prayers. We are going to go to a short break, though, before we head over to Icebox. But of course, thank you all for tuning in so far. This has been the CSL broadcast of the Valorant 2020-21 playoffs. Of course, brought to you by HyperX, Twitch Student, and Zaxby's. Why don't you try that new General Tso's boneless wings, the perfect blend of sweet and heat, which is the perfect timing as we're heading in to Icebox. So you want to make sure you're staying warm. So don't go anywhere. Map 2 between University of Houston and Point Park University is coming your way after this short break.
Welcome back to the CSL 2020-2021 playoffs. This is the winners finals for the Open Division. My name is Vincent. I am joined by Dak. And man, we had what was ultimately a close game, but honestly was maybe a little less close than it should have been. As we move into map number 2, what are we feeling?
Yeah, man. I mean, that University of Houston lead was pretty substantial at one point. It almost seemed like a given that they were going to take that map. And for Point Park, that was their map pick, so that was pretty dire straits for them. But they brought it back, 13 to 11, pretty solid. But yeah, going into this one, Icebox, a map that we don't see very often. It's a map that was avoided by almost every team in the regular season that I saw in like every
Yeah.
division because it wasn't a comfort pick. So when I'm seeing a team intentionally pick Icebox, that tells me that they've been practicing a little bit. They're a little more confident than, okay, we've just seen the map before, so we're confident we'll play it. I think they might have some stuff actually practiced for this map, and they're going to use that to their advantage to take a swift victory on Point Park. So I'm looking to see Point Park adapt as quick as they can to a map that they may not be as well versed on as University of Houston.
Well, we'll have to see. What I would like to do is take a quick peek at the bracket, though. Let's see how these teams have gotten to this point in the season. We see Point Park up at the top here, taking victories against MAC, UMD Gold, and then finally here into the winners final. On the other side of things, Houston, they took UTD Green out earlier on. That was a 3-map series, and then UMD Black. So UMD, they had 2 teams in the top 8, basically.
Yeah, and
That's huge.
actually, now that you mentioned, I'm pretty sure that we saw they ended up facing each other in the losers bracket and had to knock one of these two out, I believe. There it is right there in the bottom of your screen, UMD Gold and UMD Black. There, thank you very much, brother. You're the best. So the fact that both these teams we're seeing today both played against UMD Gold, who had to knock each other out in bracket, I mean, that's a team kill for the ages right there. Both teams were very strong, so no surprise that these teams in winners bracket even stronger. And then of course, the Max squad taking out University of Ottawa. They took out UTD Green. Nova also made their way down here, and I believe MacArthur is one of, if not the only remaining Canadian teams in the bracket too. So so solid. Like we had, I believe, the Mac versus University of Ottawa. That was a Canadian matchup earlier in the losers bracket. So we've had some really solid matchups in the Open Division in this bracket on both sides of the bracket here, and we're slowly making our way to the very, the end, the final hour, the home stretch here.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of games left to play before they hit that grand finals point once again, and that certainly is going to be exciting. But what we have for you is the rest of this winners finals matchup. Potentially only one map, but we could be seeing another if Point Park can pull things back on their opponent's map pick. But that's the key. Remember, this is certainly the pick. This is the pick of Houston, and that's a bit scary. We were talking about it before in the lead-in. You were saying, like, nobody's played this. Nobody wants to play this, typically speaking, but Houston, they do.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's really what scares me. I think they're the first team I've seen that intentionally wants to play Icebox, so I feel like they have some executes ready to go for this map. But we were talking about on the previous map, a lot of those rounds came down to gunfights, right? It really wasn't like necessarily the execution of the utility. It came down to just raw gunfights. So even if University of Houston has something planned, I still think Point Park, if they can get those shots down, should be able to stay afloat.
I think that is particularly hard on Icebox, though. You're right in principle, I think, but I think that is so much harder on Icebox than basically any other map in the pool, and so for that reason, I'm very excited to see what we have on display. And already, here we go. We've got the Viper, we've got the Sage. This is looking like a very classic composition that is for Icebox. The only thing we're missing, honestly, is the Sky. Sometimes you'll see that Sky come out in the Reyna's stead. Or even in the Jets stead, to be fair. But no Sky here for UH, but well, maybe. We were seeing Point Park kind of playing with the idea. I say UH. That was Point Park on the attack. My apologies.
Yeah.
It's UH who does not have the Viper. And they were playing with the Sky for just a moment, but it doesn't look as if we're going to be seeing that here.
Yeah, no Sky, no Yoru as well, another agent you sometimes see on Icebox every once in a while. But yeah, there's the Viper from Shuya, which we mentioned might be might be a possibility coming out to Icebox, or even a map like Split, which we might go as well. But Sage, another pretty common pick on this map, especially considering its verticality. Having that wall is certainly a great option to either boost players or to wall off some of these sites that have really, really tight areas of potential plant sites, especially on B site. So having that wall to cut off the sites is especially effective on Icebox. So no surprise that both these teams are picking Sage. But yeah, no Sky. We have the only one Viper. We have a Reyna and a Viper on that same team, which I think is pretty interesting. Yeah, so a bit of a changeover for both these teams. Tan Bands, though, did change over from the Cypher over to that Killjoy. No Cyphers on this one.
Yeah, I think the Killjoy is a lot better here,
Yep.
honestly, though, than not necessarily way better than Cypher, just way better than it is on Bind. So no problem with that. And on top of that, an interesting lack of a Sova here for the Point Park side of things. That's certainly an oddity, and might come back to bite them here later on. As that's a lot of tags. From Panzer, who's going to know that the entire team is headed his way.
No, absolutely. I mean, Sova still remains one of the strongest agents in this game, especially on Icebox when I have that Hunter's Fury, the Owl Drone. I mean, all the darts that not have Sova, especially at Icebox. Very odd pick. 100% agree with you. But we are going to see some action finally make its way over towards B as that spike did go down and no one's lost their life just yet. It doesn't even seem like anyone's been tagged yet so far. Panzer will tap it as Sarge finds that kill on Anstix. That will get the snake bite to pop, and Tan Bands returns the favor. Now it's a 4-on-4 as Sully fights with the frenzy kill. We saw him pop off on Bind with the frenzy, and Kadrai feels the pain as well. Sully looking for more. It's a 3-on-2. Sully gets one, evens the things out, and then Phil finds one but can't get another. Is Sully, which Shuya cleans up the kill, and that'll be enough to get that first round here for the attacking side.
So I'm going to keep it real with you. I really think this Viper is super strong on this map. I don't typically think that the composition choices that you make, unless it's really bad, necessarily define your chances to win on a map. But it's really hard for me not to give the Point Park side the advantage when it comes to this composition, simply because of that Viper. I think it's very strong on this map and has already had big value there in the first round.
No, absolutely. And on that retake situation or just holding off the spike, I mean, you have to respect it now. There's so much decay damage that happens, right? That just makes everyone so vulnerable. One player can wipe almost half a team, if not the entire team, thanks to that vulnerability. So yeah, definitely agree with you. And things have completely slowed down here over towards the A site as we see Tan Bands is waiting for someone here with that shorty. Not going to find much as no one's testing the waters. In fact, the attackers are moving back a little bit, inching their way out potentially towards mid or B. And you can see Phil is actually scouting out a potential B flank here. Looks like now they're going to put their attention, University of Houston, Point Park University, that is, up towards mid, as we have both the Omen, Noah, and the Jet Sarge starting to peek their way and looking for some kills.
Oh, Tan Bands, that's a timing. You definitely don't want to be, taking that fight. Not with the shorty, that's for sure. As the spike gets collected, and it is looking to be that B hit actually later on in the round. 30 seconds left as Phil inches his way out, looking for the wall in order to shut down any sort of push. Can get that plant off the back of that, and does just that. Sova Dart does give some information to Panzer, but ultimately that's not going to be quite enough, and we can see that that cover going down in order to basically just make defusing absolutely horrific.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is that Viper's strong on a map that Sage is also strong on. That combo of both Viper and Sage literally cutting the site in half. The wall making it impossible to push on. The Viper wall making it impossible to push without taking damage. And look at that, an easy cleanup. Desu has no chance. and Point Park University gets that round with almost their entire team intact. Only one player, the Viper, who did more than enough value in that round, goes down. Really well executed. Yeah, the Sage and Viper combo already showing its worth in these first 2 rounds.
Yeah, absolutely brutal combination, like you're saying, and like I've been saying. I think now though this is where the rubber meets the road. You've got weapons in the hands of Houston, and they are going to be looking to put those to good use here on the defense. Uh, Pretty much all Vandals, one Phantom here for Desu, but again, now with the full utility, this is going to be a little bit more difficult, I would imagine.
Oh, they already lost Cadre going into this as Anstix finds the pick, and their jet is also super low. Phil has to fall back thanks to that nano swarm. And now with that wall in the way too, really cutting down these angles that the attackers can take, pushing up onto the site. That's completely shut down their momentum. And then Noah feels the wrath of Tanbans, though. Phil will get their revenge. And look at that Viper. I mean, that's immediately all that poison forces that. I mean, forces the spike to stop being planted there. And that right immediately you can see the value of having the Viper on the site. The spike doesn't go down. They have to go back to the drawing board. And it looks like the attackers might take another attempt on this site, but now they might get some attention from mid as well. And it looks like the Viper is going to be looking for that.
Yeah, at this point, just don't want to get flanked or anything. Do
Mhm.
Point Park. They have a fairly good position with 30 seconds left. It is going to be the
30
rehit over
seconds
towards
left.
A, and Phil ekes their way out onto the site because of just that. There goes the utility from the Viper, and now in that poison cloud, a safe
Spike
position
planted.
to plant. Sully giving away his position. Unfortunately, basically just is a beacon to the opponent saying, listen, like, this is where I'm at now. The poison is fully out, though, and now it's an opportunity to get the
Oh,
defuse. The poison cloud comes back up, but Shuya unable to
One
connect
enemy remaining.
on the spray, and it's Sully who comes out victorious in the end. Desu with a frag. Oh, man, that was awful close for both of those players, but nobody else going down as well. So a little bit of additional cash for the attackers as we saw Shuya did survive, but nonetheless, a good round to put onto the board there for the defense.
yeah, absolutely. And that's one, at least somewhat of a weakness of Vipers, that without any teammates to help trade off, like that decay damage, it has to be fully realized, right? And if Viper can't get those, confirmed on those kills, it really doesn't matter. They can still walk through and still defuse the bomb, right, and not be pushed off. So, or defuse the spike, that is. So, not having any allies there, definitely a weakness for Viper. Can't necessarily get it done all on her own. That being said, just a single round, not a huge loss. Still so early in this map, it's hard to really tell which way it'll go. Adesu trying to sway it in their favor a little bit, rocking the boat as they kill Sarge and then start moving in for a little more of aggressive position over here towards the tube, that is. Spike gets picked up there by the Sage, and now going to be moving its way towards B site, where there are a bunch of players ready and waiting, including that Sova, their Panzer, is going to be throwing some darts out and try and get some information. Tags the Reyna, or Sage, that is. Actually, I think it is the Reyna, yeah. So really well done there by Panzer. Knows it's coming, falls back on reaction, and now they're going to have Desu get the cleanup, gets Cadre, and stops that short.
Desu's been so very strong in that position, gets a double kill, and now falls back, gets heal as well. So very strong. 2 versus 5 ultimately in this round, and Sully looking to maybe
30
eke their
seconds left.
way forward for just a little bit more. Should find Noah
Enemy
first, and
remaining.
there's the headshot. Well done. Looking for more, and there's the second. Flawless victory there in the second gun round of this half, and well, 2-2 now the scoreline, all tied up, and immediately Houston, they responded, and they've responded in kind to tie the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's a great look for them. Coming into this next round, it's now going to be up to Point Park University to try to get a little bit done here with a very light buy, as obviously they're trying to be at full power for the next round. And yeah, this has been, I mean, both teams have really haven't been at full power just yet. So now we're actually going to see them where, I mean, they're just running out aggro as well with the Blade Storm too. So of course they're trying to make the most of this eco round, but that wall completely shutting off Tube, limiting their options off mid. So now Point Park University has to look elsewhere. Despite that kill on Cadre, they're still not all the way up mid, and Desu gets one. Panzer Tan bans for more. That shock dart on Phil, he didn't see it coming. And just like that, a flurry of kills come in with Tan Bands getting the final one on Sarge. It's probably an expected round win for them, but against that Blade Storm, that wall was perfectly timed, shut down the 2 push, and then funneled everyone up mid where the cleanup could happen.
Yeah, I'm not a particularly fan of the Eco Blade Storm. I don't really love that, typically speaking. I think that you're much better off just using that Blade Storm on a gun round when it's so much more impactful. That's just my 2 cents. You know, right or wrong, it just is what I feel. And nonetheless, we are looking at that gun round that I was just mentioning as the attackers of Point Park. They get forward positions all over the map and just try to gain some map control.
And A's, pretty open here. They could actually go for a little bit of a push. Only the stage is waiting there, but I mean, most of that action is going to be mid, where it's being circumvented by the push up tube. You can see Sully is waiting outside the kitchen area, looking for a push in here. You see Noah might draw that attention, but Ansix gets the kill on Shuya first. Tan bands ready and waiting for Sarge, who goes in by themselves, knowing to trade off of them. These individual gunfights are really working out well here for the University of Houston squad as they lose Tan bands, but still have the agent advantage at the 50-second mark.
Oh, that was a great look, honestly, by Sully, but Cadre with a great find, and now 3v3, no longer a player advantage. And on top of that, you have an Empress, you have the Res, you also have the From the Shadows, lots of tools to work with if you are the attackers. Phil recovering that spike from a difficult position, and Godray falls once more, but it is once again a trade from Phil, and there goes the resurrection, but this time it's for the defense, and there goes the attacker side. Godray brought back into it and popping the Empress as well. It looks as if they're going over towards 8. No, the spike!
Oh, no.
The spike has gotten dropped. All they've got to do is survive. That's absolutely devastating. What a way to win the round.
Oh, you hate to see it. Sully will get the kill on Noah at the end there. Yeah, that is rough. You hate to lose that spike on the way. Almost perfectly timed too. If they had not lost that spike, Panzer didn't see the other player going through mid and circled around the other time, ring around the Rosie, and might not have been in a position to get that actual second kill. But the spike went down. You hate to see it. Now a 4-2 scoreline here for University of Houston. They've been in this position before. 4 unanswered rounds now. They're gonna try to extend it as best they can.
Certainly are. Buy back in here for the attackers, and it looks as if they're looking to change the pace potentially. Move over towards A. Panzer grabbing up that orb, but now here's Sarge getting a forward position. Panzer says no thanks. Dispatches Sarge with ease. Paranoia coming through on the follow-up. Cadre and more looking to get the spike planted. Does just that. The Hunter's Fury comes out in order to deny it. Doesn't quite deny the spike, but denies the life of Noah as Sully comes in for more. This is absolutely devastating. Just losing players left, right, and center. Our Point Park is they do get the spike planted, but it's with 2 players left alive.
Yeah, got that spike down, but at what cost? And so far we've seen at the cost of over a majority of their players so far. Ansix finds Shuya, and it's not going to be enough. I mean, again, that utility of like Viper and Co, it's certainly have to respect a little more, but it's not enough to actually stop them from getting up onto the site. And then, of course, we were talking about that Sova difference, right? I mean, the Hunter's Fury, that's an easy way to deal damage in a non-committal fashion that Point Park University can't respond with in the same fashion. So, having that Sova, a huge difference maker for University of Houston, you can definitely see why. And Panzer has also been making a really solid difference on the scoreboard outside of that utility usage as well.
Absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head there with the Sova utility and how important it is. And on top of that, right, like you have to understand that if you walk into a site and you get the spike planted but lose 3 players before it, that's not a good trade.
Yeah.
Like that's horrifically bad. Even if you have that spike planted, you're just gonna have to pull out some magical stuff in
Oh,
order to come out victorious. And well, Ansix was trying to do just that. Desu with an additional frag in this Viper's pit, and well, it's not working out all that well. Again,
oh.
spike planted, but at a huge cost. Desu once again has a triple kill, and this is simply looking elementary for the Houston side of things.
Yeah, it's almost like Point Park has like blinders on, right? And they're just trying to get the spike down at any cost for some reason. And they did get the, the Viper snake pit down, but again, once you know where it is and you're willing to take that, the damage, right? In terms of trading off for the angle that you want to take, and you still have a Sage that's there to heal you, the Viper is less and less effective on those really aggro pushes. So yeah, getting down that spike at any cost. I mean, the most you're getting that extra spike money, which okay, the plant money is great, but you're not winning the rounds, which is what we're here for.
Well, on the positive side, the spike money plus the loss bonus does net another purchase in for the attackers. But you're right; those are not the types of things that are giving you round victories, and that's round victories that net you victories in the map. And that's something that you want to be looking for. A very fast push over here towards B. It's pretty much met no resistance. That being said, the resistance is coming in hot and heavy. Shuya, Sarge both find frags, and that means that now the spike can go down. This is a much better position. 5 versus 3 in the favor of Point Park.
Yeah, this is definitely what they were looking for. The wall went up. They haven't lost any bodies, and now they've all fallen back in that pocket position away from the spike. This is extremely hard for the retake here. I mean, they have very little utility to work with. The Desu does have a wall and a slow, but they just went down, so it doesn't even matter. And it looks like Sully is probably best off just saving here, but might be able to get a pick. I mean, they have so much money to work with that I guess saving isn't necessary, so they're gonna go for it. And Sully's gonna try to look for a pick and swing out a little bit as Panzer goes for the defuse. Sully goes out, Panzer gets the kill, tapped it, but couldn't get much more done after that as Cadre and Shuya as well as Father Time were against them. Oh,
No!
but everybody, no, that was huge though. They just lost almost all their players there. They all have to rebuy now.
No, not almost. They lost everyone, if I'm not mistaken. I think everyone falls. That is
Wow.
brutal. I mean, they've got cash, but I mean, what was a really solid round now turns into a round where, you won, but at a huge cost to your overall economy. And I mean, the economy very healthy after 6 rounds in a row of victories. And there is a healthy shot. Desu, operator in hand, says no thanks to Cadre as he opens things up. Sarge, though, on the other hand, has taken Ansix out. 10 bands up close and personal. Are they ready for them? No, not at all. And Sully as well with a double. 10 bands gets the second. The defense, they respond in kind after just 1 round.
And certainly Point Park has found some success with these more aggro pushes, but if they're not able to get far enough in to get that wall down, I mean, they fall apart on these last few attempts. They've really haven't been able to figure out a way to salvage rounds when they can't get that utility down. I mean, you saw the Viper not checking corners as they're pushing out. They're very, very concerned about getting on the site and getting the spike down, but not doing the due diligence to actually clear out that site first. And that's really, really hurting them as we go deeper and deeper into the second map.
It certainly is, especially on Icebox where there's so many crevices and corners and high grounds and low grounds, and I mean there's just so many things to check realistically. And you're right, every time you don't check one of those, it's another opportunity for a frag. And an opportunity there by Ansix, maybe getting a little bit aggressive there, trying for more, and well, gets punished for it. Sarge, as well as one player on the other side of the map going down. Panzer, though, in mid has returned the favor, and Sully comes back as well. So 3v3 ultimately, as a minute left on the clock.
Oh, Sarge gets that smoke down just for some coverage. Nice heads up play there. I like that. And then also avoids the shock dart just in time. kind of getting like a fish in a barrel here. Really nowhere for Sarge to go, especially with 30 HP left. But gonna try to make the most of a pretty rough situation here. And yeah, this was just picks kind of one-on-one picks where the trade really wasn't possible for the attackers. They
Last
lost
round
players,
before the switch.
over slowly over that round, just slowly leaking blood and eventually they had really no one to work with as the round kind of went down to its final seconds there. So last round before the swap, it's an 8-3 scoreline. Another 2 rounds in a row here for University of Houston. They've only dropped 1 round in the last 9 rounds. That's huge for this team as they're trying to end this series as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, just simply domination. That's what this has been throughout this map number 2. And I mean, 8-3 currently. This could be an 8-4. That would be the same as the half that we saw over on Bind. But can they even solidify a 9-3? That would be even better. But
Hmm.
we'll have to see. Aggression coming out over here towards B, at least for the time being, is information gained by Cadre, but nothing much more. Desu sitting ready and waiting in the back of the site. Operator in hand, tries for the shot. Fortunately misses that one. So it's now going to be that push. Lear comes out,
Wow.
Nanostorm in return, as the trade of the utility is very, very strong. But the spike, it's not headed that direction. It's going towards A.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was a ton of utility used all at once, and a little bit of defensive utility popped there, but it was, I guess, enough to really convince a bunch of the defense that they would have to hold site longer than needed. And indeed, they now get the idea. The spike's going down. That wall goes down too. I don't believe the attackers know Sully's there, but Sarge finds him as he was trying to take the skull off somebody.
One
And then
enemy
Noah gets
remaining.
3 in a row as Desu is late to the party here. We'll find Noah. But Cadre gets him back. Makes it 8-4. Definitely slowing the bleeding a little bit here as we go into the second
Switching
half.
sides.
Yeah, but only by a little bit. That's the problem. I mean, that bleeding, it's still there. You still got a wound, and is certainly not. It's not been stopped just yet. And so now, what do you have to do on your defensive side? The answer is have some of these very clever setups. Though, I mean, the Viper certainly allows for you to do that. It also allows for a whole lot of control across the map with your wall, and as well as that poison cloud. But I don't know. Are they going to be able to make it work, particularly against what is, in the past been a relatively aggressive Houston team that kind of just bullies their way through?
Yeah, definitely. And that Viper is going to be crucial to kind of stopping the momentum in a lot of these pushes, I think. Even though, again, you can still push through the decay, you got to respect a little more. And Noah's going to get that dark cover out as the push comes in. Noah just freestyle in there and gets the pick on Panzer, but Antics with a headshot of their own makes it 4-4. And then that Omen will get healed up as Cadre and Tan Bands also trade off each other. Noah on the other side of this wall looking for a way in, but it's completely closed out from the fray. And now it's going to take Noah some additional time to get a kill and then reveals themselves a little bit with that shot there. But not going to be enough as Tan Bands gets one. Desu trades. 2-on-1 situation. It's just Shuya with the Viper by themselves. Can they get it done?
Oh, that's great timing on that swing, Desu, and just pulling out the exact timing that is necessary, knowing when the Viper's not going to be turned around, is not going to be looking the right direction. Exactly what you're looking for, and that is round number 1 going the way of Houston. Not ideal if you're Point Park, and not ideal if you're looking to make a comeback and make it stick this time on the second map of this series. But nonetheless, they are looking to have a bit of a half buy here. Are the defense
Oh,
electing?
Shuya.
Ooh, that's
Wow,
an interesting interaction.
Yeah, I would not expected that, but I don't think Ansix did either. Desu, though, finds Phil. Sarge actually backing way up after that kill and then sees the shoulder there of Sully. Can't get the kill and then walled off. Has to take another angle here as Desu will get the plant down.
Spike planted.
The rotation comes, and with Sarge getting that kill, that buys the reinforcements some more time. But Desu now finds Sarge, 3-on-2 situation. That Omen Noah is very low on HP. Cadre not fully tapped up either. Has to get a kill to try and overheal themselves. Can't do it. Tanbans and Panzer find Cadre and Noah respectively. And now it's a 10-4 scoreline. Very solid considering they held on to 2 players with their full armor, and only 3 players with the buy armor. They're going to be solid even if they lose this next round.
Absolutely. And on top of that as well, I mean, in a position right where we we saw this on Bind, did we not? We saw the win of the pistol. We saw the double digit and the 6 round lead. And then things started to turn around. Maybe this is indeed the time that we're going to see Point Park turn things around. Maybe. That being said, it's still a long or a tall mountain to climb, and Antics with a great opening. Sarge does get the trade immediately, which is nice, but the follow-up not so
Oh,
much there. Again, Sarge, a 1-for-1, not ideal, but certainly okay. As Sully is up close and personal.
that stage has gotten down though for the attackers, so University of Houston can't wall themselves off on this plant, making it a little more risky, and they will trade again. Both teams losing their omens. Panzer goes for another attempt and does get it down. Phil on the other side of this corner at low HP, but instead takes the shot on Shuya, and definitely a better gunfight as the stage was able to heal themselves up. And now Phil does not look the right way. Does not have eyes on the back of their shoulder, on the back of their head either. And Tanmans will get it. Now an 11-4 scoreline. So many rounds in a row, 3 in a row already on the second half. And Point Park University, this might be their last few rounds in winners bracket unless they can turn things around.
The last hurrah potentially for them, but it certainly is plausible to bring it back. Houston in a good spot right now in a 11-4 scoreline. They have cash for days. They also have, if you're 10 mans, you've just heavily outplayed your opponent on that 1v1, and you're feeling great. So push coming over here towards A once again, as that's a great find for Noah and Cadre. Nearly picks up a second one, but Sarge is the one who finds 2 with the Blade Storm. Looks for one more, but already gets taken out by Noah. And, well, change of pace, I guess, is what was necessary for that 5th round for Point Park University.
Absolutely. And I got to give shout outs there to Noah, of course, pivotal player in that round, but it has really solid positioning on a lot of these defensive holds. You know, Bind was on that Tetris position for a while, like almost like a quarterback, multiple angles, that far back view. Definitely had influence on comms as well, and kind of playing a similar position on defense on this A site as well. Really solid, consistent play from Noah. Love to see it still in the second map, and certainly one of their ways that this Point Park team is going to stay alive if they hope to bring this to a map 3.
Joke's over. You're dead.
There goes the run it back, and actually that run it back instantly dispatched. The push going to be stalled for just a moment more. Lots of shots ringing out, but no kills thus yet, as there's the first. And 6, after getting shut down via the run it back, comes back and gets yet another kill. The offensive killjoy coming up big time, and Sarge looking to get over the wall, but Noah actually the one who finds them all, but it's actually just a trade. Sully, Tanbans, both picking up frags at the very end there. Man, did that look good by the Omen, but Noah unfortunately got 3 and gets taken out.
Yeah, you can't blame Noah for that one. A nice try if I've ever seen one, for sure. But it's now match series point here for University of Houston. Again, that stage has been huge, cutting off these sites, making these site plants a lot easier. And then, of course, that Hunter's Fury Panzer's sitting on, likely going to use this round. The res is ready to go. They have the teleport too. And some shots coming in from Sarge, but I mean, they're going to have to deal with a very aggro push here, Vincent.
Well, Shuya up close and personal with this.
Oh, no.
That's outrageous. Shuya with 2 judgment time. And, well, they've been judged. And now the Marshal comes in for more, as it is another frag. So this looked all done and dusted at this point, but Two versus
Oh,
four, and Sarge up close and personal once again. Comes up big. Sully 1-on-3, and well, gets two. I should say 1-on-4, but gets two, then falls immediately. 12-6 now, the scoreline.
and this is what we saw on Bind, right? Just facing death, right? On death doorbell. On doorstep, I guess. Point Park University still fighting some life, staying alive here as best as they can. Sarge with some really consistent and crucial picks on that last round. Of course, Noah as well. Those dark covers were really clutch. And Cadre, that entry fragger, getting it done. Of course, Shuya was the main player of that round with that judge holding a corner. You got to check. We'll see how much they get done. Throwing down everything. There goes the poison cloud. And now that
Mid?
completely cuts off mid.
Toxin screen down.
That's something. That's interesting. I don't know if I love or hate or what this, but it's different, and that's what matters. And six, what a spot.
All right.
Oh, might be giving themselves away with this one, but oh, they just go
Oh,
by
they
one
walk
another.
past each
They
other.
go by one another. That's brutal. The timing, and he gets one, almost a second as well, as a decay falls away. Still 2-on-3 though. One player, that's the jet, tagged very low, and
Oh,
Sully shuts that down, making it an even trade for both sides.
and six will not be able to get the running back
One
this
enemy
round.
remaining.
Sully finds Shuya, so now it's all up to Noah. Can Noah make it happen? They've been the
Timing.
quarterback of this team. No, they're walking away from him, but Sully heading back in his
30
direction. And
seconds
Bro.
six
left.
moves away. They're continuing to rotate around each other. When are they finally going to see each other? With just about 20 seconds left in the clock, Sully still not peaking.
Uh,
Noah falls back, has a vandal.
15 seconds though, 15 seconds. Oh, the
Nice,
timing!
he's for the wall.
Attackers.
And
Oh.
six claps him from the side back into the right that time. And that's enough. A 13-6 scoreline to secure the second and final map of that series. University of Houston heading their way to a secured spot in the Open Division Grand Finals. Congrats to them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely congratulations, and really taking to the Point Park University players on their map pick in particular, doing an incredible job. I mean, that honestly, that icebox, that was just incredible. Yeah, there was some big plays coming through from Point Park, but ultimately we saw Sully and Tanbands and Desu all have a big game. And I mean, I said it before, at the halftime. I said, the fact that Tanbands had such a bad game on map number one is something that you just cannot rely upon. And Tanbands had a great game in map number two, and it was fairly dominant off the back of that.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Tan Brands brought it right back to 16, 10, and 5. And we got some replays coming your way as well from these past games here. And this was, I mean, I was going to say just before we went to this, I feel like the composition, especially for Icebox, really made a difference. The fact, having the stage with the Viper is huge, but, not having a Sova, I think was massive and made a huge difference for University of Houston over Point Park.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that mattered. I still actually would give the edge slightly to the Viper composition if it was utilized a little bit better. But the problem was that every time they got into that like late round scenario where the Viper is so good, they used so many resources in order to do it. That was the biggest issue. It would be a 2 versus 5. Like, that's just not super winnable, is it?
No, definitely not. Oh, that was the way they walked by each other inside the pistachio. And of course,
man.
there's the last kill right there. And that's how it goes. A solid round win there and a solid map win there from University of Houston. Yeah, I mean, we expected them to be very confident on Icebox. Point Park, they were starting to bring it back, but they couldn't get nearly as close as they could on Bind. You could definitely, it goes to show having that comfort map pick that other teams aren't ready for, still very valuable this late to the playoff bracket.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that they took it with this sort of domination, sending them into grand finals, I have a lot of faith in Houston to maybe pull out that grand finals victory. I don't know what your thoughts are, Dak, but they're feeling good.
Oh, I definitely agree. This is definitely. I mean, they're looking really strong. They didn't drop a map. They haven't dropped a series since I think you said November or something like that.
Hmm.
If it wasn't that, it was January. Definitely a
Right.
while ago. They have to be feeling extremely confident, not only on that map pick on Bind, but I mean the Icebox win really has to validate all they've been working on. I would have to think, and certainly we're going to learn a little bit more in our Zaxby's player interview coming up in a little bit. But yeah, I mean University of Houston. I think they might I think you might be on point. I think they might actually be the ones that take this in grand finals.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of, I think we are ready for the Rising Star post-match interview, brought to you by Zaxby's. This time, we are going to get to talk to Panzer, if I'm not mistaken, and indeed it is. So let's bring Panzer on line here and bring them in. Panzer, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm feeling good, and well, I hope you're feeling good. What are the feelings within the team after that victory, particularly the domination over on Icebox?
Yeah, Icebox is a pretty new map. We started learning it recently, but we're really happy with how we played today. You know, it was a bit rough in the first map closing out. We lost like 5 in a row towards the end, but apart from that, we played really well. Really happy about moving into the grand finals. So yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, you mentioned that first map, of course. Bind Point Park was coming back a little bit towards that map. How are you
Yeah.
able to keep your cool and prevent that from being a map loss?
We were doing like stupid plays. I think we were throwing away first bloods, and we were giving them small advantages. You know, and you can't give teams like that like advantages because they'll just run with it and they'll take the round. So, you know, we talked about it for the last round in the pause, and well, we didn't pause, but during the little break before the round, and yeah, we just discussed that we're gonna stop throwing, and it was yeah. So
Just stop throwing and then you won.
yeah.
Amazing. That's
Well,
absolutely
because
brilliant.
yeah, we were just giving away too many first bloods. We're taking engagements that we shouldn't be.
Mhm.
Yeah, they started playing slow, so we just needed to save some of our util for later on in the round.
Well, speaking of utility, we saw the pick of Viper coming through from Point Park on that Icebox map. Surely you guys would have expected but the potential for that Viper, considering what is the meta on the map. What is your thought process for not going with the Viper there?
Uh, the reason we didn't go for Viper today was yesterday we played a match with Viper and it didn't go well. So we also haven't practiced Viper well on Icebox. So we just ran with what we knew. The one duelist comp is what comfortable for us, so we just ran with that.
Oh, absolutely. And the icebox pick certainly, your ace up your sleeve going into this series. So is this a map that you've been practicing a lot? That's a, comfort pick that you had particular strats for? Or was it maybe a map pick that you were just trying to throw off the other team and hope it works in your favor? Where was the decision making behind icebox? Is your team prepared for that? Tell me a bit about that map.
Icebox is a map, as I said earlier, it's something we've started learning recently. A lot of teams like to keep Icebox in the ban after they ban, like they ban split, and it's easy to pick Icebox because they're expecting the other team to ban Icebox. So it's always nice to have that in your map pool. So yeah, we've practiced a little bit. We tried the one duelist comp recently, and it's been working well for us. So we ran with that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you put it to great use. There's no doubt about that. And um, I will say, so is there anybody? I know that the winners final or the losers final, my apology, hasn't been played out just yet. Is there anybody that you know down there that you are worried about, or are you even worried about any teams left in the bracket?
I don't think we're worried about anyone really. We haven't since the team got formed back in January. I know we lost, or like the old U of H Alpha lost a while ago. There was like a roster change a while ago. Since then, we haven't lost in CSL. I don't think. So I think we're pretty comfortable against any opponent so far. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you absolutely should be, especially after that performance and such a run through winners bracket. To wrap this up, any shout outs, friends, family, fans out there? Any final comments as we let you go?
Uh, I guess I'll shout out Tan. He had a rough one, but he was playing heroes he doesn't play, so don't worry about his performance. He'll probably bring it in the final. But about from that, that's it. Thanks for having me on the interview, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining us, and good luck in grand finals. We'll hope to
Thank
see
you.
you there.
See ya.
Well, Vincent, it was great hearing from Panzer, and of course, we had a really great series tonight. Usually, we do these on Friday nights, but we had some Saturday night Valorant action, which was really awesome. And of course, we had that Zaxby's Rising Star interview. All of you out there, do you have anyone you think should be honored as a rising star? Well, Zaxby's is looking to shine the spotlight on team MVPs, solid duos, partners, or your go-to teammate in the clutch. How about you nominate your friend or your family member or whoever today by visiting CSL Esports on any of our social media platforms linked in the chat? Vincent, it's been a great night, a great series. Any final thoughts?
Well, listen, I do know that Zaxby's is the official chicken of esports fans. That's what I know for sure. But my final thoughts, match wise, I mean, just congratulations to Houston and commiserations. Unfortunately, Point Park, you lost it today, but you have the opportunity to run it back in lower bracket. You can show Houston exactly what you're made of by making it all the way back into the final, the grand final rather, by winning out in the losers bracket. Let's see what their run through that lower bracket would look like here as we take a peek at our bracket once more. This is the upper bracket as we've just filled out UH Alpha going through into the grand finals in 2-0 fashion. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Let's go down to the lower bracket though, and take a look at how this would go down, right? You got Mac and UMD Gold. They're going to play there in that first matchup. The winner is going to move on to take on Point Park in that that losers final. It should be a good matchup regardless, and I'm excited to see who can come out victorious and take on UH because man, they were an absolute dynasty there. They absolutely destroyed on Icebox.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see in this losers bracket, there's a couple 2-1s. It hasn't been cleaned for any of these teams. Whereas I'm pretty sure University of Houston, they haven't really dropped a map very frequently and very recently either. So yeah, I would say they're probably the favorite going into the grand finals. I wouldn't be surprised though if we saw a rematch if Point Park was able to come back from losers. I definitely think they can. Obviously, bracket-wise, they're the second strongest team at the moment, but we have some other teams in the wings ready to go for their matchups in the losers bracket as well. We're down to the top 4. I mean, it's been a long season since we've been casting this earlier in late 2020, and now we're wrapping things up almost halfway through 2021 to determine a winner. Yeah, honestly, my prediction is that Point Park comes back and faces off against University of Houston again in the grand finals.
Listen, I'm not going to go for the prediction game. I refuse to be pulled in to those shenanigans. Normally, I'm down for those shenanigans, but honestly, I think anybody could win that one, and I think anybody could bring it back. Though I have to agree, I think Houston certainly looking to be the favorites there in that grand finals.
Well, we'll certainly find out soon. We have, I mean, just a few more matches left across all the divisions and some more broadcasts left to go in this season. It's been a great night tonight. We have some more action coming your way. Actually, I believe there's another match right after this
Yeah,
for I'm not sure what
League.
I believe it's League. Yeah, so we're staying for Riot Games, right? We got some League of Legends coming up, your main event here at CSO Playoffs broadcast on Saturday night. But for us on Valorant, that is it. Of course, thank you all for tuning in. This has been CSL Esports coverage of the Valorant Collegiate Season Playoffs for the 2020-2021 season, brought to you by HyperX, Twitch student, and Zaxby's. Be sure to get that famous Zaxby's chicken salad sandwiches sides on the app, on the site for pickup or delivery. However you can, get on it. And be sure to do so before our next match, which is, of course, League of Legends. I've been Dak alongside Vincent for an absolutely awesome cast. Thank you for joining me. The team behind the production on the ones and twos and Squid, wherever you are. Hope you're doing well. We will see you all next time for the continuation and the finalization of these playoffs. I hope to see you stick around for League of Legends after this. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on CSL Valorant.